Well, hello everybody. How are we doing tonight? Happy All Hallows Eve. Who we got? 715, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. And Pippa, welcome to the lab. Thank you so much for stopping by. Oh, look at that. The bot is doing bot things. Oh my goodness, the bot is actually doing bot things. Hello, Shito. How are you doing tonight? Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab, everybody. How are we doing tonight? I think I need to move that back just a little bit. I was listening back to the VOD from last time, I think. I think it was last time's VOD, and it sounded very echoey, very reverby, which, all things considered, I haven't put up the sound panels in the room yet, so we'll get there at some point, one day, maybe possibly. Was a hard week. Heard that. It is surprisingly difficult to split attention between a bunch of different things, and then on top of that, like I firmly believe that in order to actually be productive, you have to basically block everything else out and focus on that one thing. So splitting attention across many different responsibilities, not great for productivity. Last I checked, at least. Let's see here. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff going on at the moment. Oh yeah. Sorry, my I noticed that over here Discord is just like kaboom. What is the age reveal? Hello, Sunmar. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. I will say you all were pretty close. There's your riddle. You were very close to the things that you were suggesting. Oh, let's get the tea. Need the tea. Let's see here. We need that. As you can tell, running a little behind at the moment. Ugh. And if you all are not aware, hello, Hor. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure that's still working. Yeah, there it is. I'm pretty sure everybody that's in here came from Sorcery Stream, but just in case, Sorcery is currently finishing up, if I remember correctly, Alien Isolation. So we are so close to being done with that monstrosity. Let's see here. Greetings, Doc. Intern reporting in. Thank you so much, Rockerade. Welcome back to the lab. Thank you so much for stopping by. Oops, let me get TCam going. Watching both? Man. You should absolutely be watching her. You should not be watching me. She is far more wholesome than I am. Let's see here. Just as a heads up for everybody, we're going to get into that here in just a moment. But I did make a couple of small changes off of stream. Why, yes, Rockrate, it is. It is the fantastic, delicious taste of organic Japanese matcha, brought to you by Jade Leaf. Where do I have it from? This is actually from Amazon, and yeah, Jade Leaf, only the best. Sponsor, wouldn't it be nice? Honestly, though, I feel like I've not really purchased enough of their matcha as of yet. But all right, let's see here. Let's get our let's get our matcha going. Ooh. Almost fell out of my damn chair. All right, the lab coat is all over the place tonight. That erotic hand. The thing is, actually, my city has a big Asian community, so Japanese supermarkets are all over the city center. I'm just too lazy to pay them a visit. I kind of wish that we had that around me. Welcome, Ina. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Let's see here. I'm fairly certain that we do have some kind of a proper Asian market somewhere in the city, but spoiler alert, I am not very much a city person. I very much grew up outside of the city. I actually grew up in a way down in the south, and we were very far from the city. I wasn't quite country. Actually, I would argue that I was far from the country. I was definitely in suburbia. But yoink. There we go. But yeah, it was very quiet, and I kind of I had a brief stint, if you will, kind of doing the mini city life. The university that I attended was just in what you would consider to be a city center. It was technically not the city, and I actually worked in the city for a good while. Yeah, it was not my thing. I don't like that kind of like claustrophobic feeling of the city personally. But at the same time, I am a software developer, so I kind of have to have access to the city in some capacity. So I'm currently living about half an hour south of the city, and access to the city is relatively simple. Let's see here. Is that a matcha specific stirring brush? No, it is. It is actually just a bamboo whisk. That's really all it is. But I've seen these used in tea ceremonies. My whisking technique is non-existent, so there is no whisking, or there is no ceremony when a mage creates matcha. But hello, sir, can't think of one. How you doing, mate? Thanks so much for stopping by. It's a thing you use for shaving. I'm pretty sure the one for shaving has fuzzy bits at the end. Whisking technique. Of course there's such a thing. Oh my goodness. I feel like my older sister, like her ears are going to start burning because I'm probably going to get some of this mixed up. But I want to say it was feudal Japan is where it was the tea ceremony was a point of court, if I remember. It was a very kind of an honorable official thing. It was I'm struggling with some of the details, but that was the long and short of it. You prepare your own bowl. The matcha, more than likely, or I don't remember if it was matcha, if it was another type of tea. The amount of matcha, the actual like presentation of creating this cup of tea it's a whole thing, and it's honestly kind of mesmerizing to watch. But I say my older sister's ears are probably burning. She lived in Japan for a couple of years, and if I remember correctly, she was trained, and she got to hold her own tea ceremony, which is magical. And I'm so sad that I didn't get to go and see it. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And hello, Officer Wolf. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. I genuinely want to I've been wanting to go to Japan for years now. And there have been a couple of times where it was a plan. I was in the process of purchasing tickets and getting kind of travel plans set up and everything. and then something always came up. Something work-related usually always came up. It makes me very sad. What is keyboard song? TLDR, my little Prionic keyboard here has a music mode, and so I can turn a macro, and the keys start playing notes, and so I just make something up off the top of my head. It's kind of ridiculous. You call that a keyboard? That's the size of some calculators. Oh, Rock. You haven't seen anything yet. Ficodev? Ficodev? I'm so sorry, I probably butchered that. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Or welcome to the lab, I should say. Hey, Rock. You see this case? What do you think's inside? Is it a stethoscope? Is it... Oh. It's a keyboard. If you think the Prionic is a tiny keyboard, say hello to the Plank. Who programs on that? Ants and a Medge for 6-7 months, give or take. Yeah, it was really nice. There we go. It's interesting layout. Why is that a straight grid and not shifted rows? It's called ortholinear. I think they could also be officially called grid layout, but I've always seen it described as ortholinear. And the reason that I work on straight keys and not the typical shifted keys is because of RSI. My fingers prefer to go straight up and down, and I think that's mostly because of piano and guitar. So I do this. I go straight up and down a lot more naturally than I go diagonally. It's very weird. So ortholinear keyboards. And where are all the special characters? You see these two buttons right here? This lower and this raise button? That's how. So this is layer 0. So all the number keys, all the letters and the symbols for enter and shift and tab and so forth that you see, that's layer 1. You push the raise key and it goes up a layer. And now, if I remember correctly, this was the number layer. So you press that. The top row is numbers. The second row below that is a set of special characters. The row below that is another set of special characters. Blah, blah, blah. Lower does the exact same thing, but it's a different set of characters. So the point of this, and kind of the same thing, it's actually the exact same thing as the Prionic. Boop. Get that into frame. It's the exact same concept, except that the Prionic has the number row up at the top. And I found that I kind of prefer having the number row. I do still use the, I'll still do the raise key and W for 2, for example. Or the lower key and W for the @ symbol. I'll still do that just because of how much time I spent on the Plank. But it was one of those things of I kind of prefer having a number row, especially for things like one-time passwords, or if I'm doing calculations, some type of mathematics. I prefer to have the number row. So, how do you remember which key is which? Lots and lots of trial and error, to be perfectly honest. It's definitely a mental model. You have to build in that mental model of, oh, I want to hit exclamation, so that's lower and Q. But I'm not really remembering that so much as I'm remembering the finger movements. So it's my left thumb goes down and my left pinky extends, and that's exclamation. And it's almost kind of I've started to get that rhythm. And so my mind just associates motion instead of the additional effort of like, oh, I need this, I need that. I couldn't live without a wrist rest. That is exactly why I have one. I will say though, let me break. This has just been fun times vibing. There we go. Nope, that's not what I want. I want that. Yeah. Let's see here. What was it called? Oh no, I can't remember the name of it. Give me just a second here, and I will figure it out. I understand at some point you can just type fully blind, but especially during learning, not being able to visually see with the right key sounds like a steep learning curve. It really is, Sunmar. Like I do not want to detract from if you use normal keyboards for the entirety of your life, like using a Prionic or using a Plank is a massive learning curve. It's kind of ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. And it took a very long time for me to actually get comfortable with it. The only reason that I really kind of dug in and really started to dedicate the time to it is because I started to recognize the stress and the pain that I was starting to get, especially like in my wrists and in this section of my hands. Like that area where I'm just constantly doing that. Like, I mean, I have a very wide stance for my fingers because of playing guitar, but it's not comfortable to do that. And so my keyboard kind of forcing me to do that over and over and over again, it was just awful. It was not great. Let's see here. Guess which topic I tutored over in polymorphism, inheritance, and overrides. One student even used a lambda expression to define a comparator. Oh, that makes me happy. That makes me happy to hear. I love to hear people. I like to hear that process of learning, and I like to hear about people learning about programming for no particular reason. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Oh yes, here we go. This is what I wanted to find. My apologies. Where are you? There you are. So, if you think the Plank and the Prionic is ridiculous.
Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
Thank you so much, Sunmar, for the gifted sub. You sweet, sweet individual. And with everything that you've been doing for sorcery, and then you come in here and show that generosity here as well, you are an amazing human being. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Such a wholesome community. Oof. Hey. Anybody ever seen one of these before? I guess my snarky technobabble qualified me for a free sub. Right? Yeah. So, that's happening. So, I probably should give context around that. So, the company that I work for right now, they have a kind of like a work from home stipend, and I didn't use any of it because I have all of this already. So I legitimately didn't need anything for a work from home setup. Like, I just didn't feel good about taking the money. So they insisted. They said, well, use it for something. Use it for something that you want to improve upon, or something that you've been thinking about buying but you haven't, that would make your job easier, or whatever the case may be. It's like, all right. It's like, well, what about a new keyboard? You know, are you happy with the keyboard you have currently? And I kind of showed the keyboard, and they were like, huh? And then a buddy of mine was like, yo, what about ZSA? Like, ZSA just released the Moonlander. That's the Moonlander. It's a split ergo keyboard, and it is fully programmable, just like the Prionic. How much is it? Are you ready? Are you ready? So we got Moonlit. I went with Cherry MX Browns because I like silence. Look at that guy just peeking. Hold on, let me move him down just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Just leave that guy down there. Just be like, hey, you gonna buy a Moonlander? You thinking about it? $365. Will that keyboard also read me a bedtime story? Because it's programmable, and because I believe it does support MIDI, like I believe it supports MIDI files, I'm pretty sure it could. Like you bind the individual pieces of the story.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Ike Main 6067 or just AIQ Main 6067? Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, good.
Oh my goodness.
My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
Thank you so much for the follow as well. Welcome to the lab. I lifted my left hand, but the T was in my right hand. That's how flustered I am. Hello. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. I bought a toothbrush for this price. You're not, you know, of all things that you would spend money on, like oral hygiene, absolutely. Hi, Kelly. Portal 2, yes. I feel like I'm just skirting the line on a copyright claim. I'm waiting for the day when one of these videos gets a strike just because I'm using GLaDOS's voice. But alrighty, boy, does this keyboard have genuine in-key rollover? It's a good question. I don't know. I kind of want to know. You still haven't beaten Portal 2? Me either. I don't think. I definitely played Portal, the first Portal. I don't recall ever beating Portal 2. My one brain cell was not capable of handling such things. I say as we're about to attempt to build a Twitch bot in Go, which, by the way, welcome. We are indeed attempting to build a Twitch bot using Golang. We have a Twitch bot in Golang, which is what the... Well, let's see here. The bot actually was... double checking just to make sure. Did the bot actually... greet? Oh, the bot didn't greet. What happened? What happened? Oh, no, it did. Okay. Ooh, I was about to have a panic attack. It's like, what happened to the bot? Thank you for the stretch. AIQ? Which, by the way, is it AIQ? Is it spelled out AIQ, or is it... Well, how would you prefer to be referred to? Will be the question. What does this Twitch bot do? Well, at the current moment, it is currently connecting to chat. It has the auto greet functionality, which is what is slowly popping in. It is an auto greeter that has a Redis ledger. So people that the bot has greeted before, we store that in Redis. And let's see here, what else can it do? We're getting secrets out of Vault. It has a couple of commands, and by a couple I mean 2, basically, which is the Wonderful Sorcery command, which is our wonderful mod. She is currently streaming Alien Isolation, so if you're interested in that kind of content, give her a look. And then also the obligatory Hello World of the bot space. And it is feeding time for the cats, and one of the cats is locked up, so give me just a second. I return. Sorry about that. All right. So, yes. So the bot has a couple of very basic text commands. It's effectively the start the message with a command, and the bot will respond to it if it knows what it is. What else does it have? And then we just have a logger, so it drops those items out, and then ping pong, which is the obligatory. We must honor ping pong, otherwise we get yeeted out of the server. So, go methods start with a capital letter only if they are exported. So, TLDR Rock Raid, it is the bot, or sorry, functions. If you want them to be accessible elsewhere, the method is capitalized. But if you want them to effectively be private to that file, then they are lowercase. Just a convention instead of having a keyword. Oh, let's see here. To that package. I did say file, didn't I? Thank you, Shito. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I need to be corrected on those things because I need more Go in my life. And yes, the last thing that we were working on, and I did work on a little bit off of stream just to fix a very annoying issue from the end of the stream. We did get Viper set up for external configuration. So thank you, Shito, for that recommendation. So Viper is currently reading this config.yaml file, and then we are pulling at the moment. We are pulling greetings from config. Now, at the moment, the greetings are basically just a tiered dictionary starting at greeter, and then we have the channel, and based on the channel, we have some kind of greeting set up. I've actually not tested this yet, so I was kind of waiting to see. I was actually going to use my own stream to test this, and it actually seems to be working. I am not entirely sure why it wasn't working at the end of stream. At the end of stream, it was basically receiving the message format, but it was getting like an empty string. I'm not entirely sure what was happening there. So I was working on that off stream. That kind of got that did get built, and I admit that I was just very annoyed by it, so I wanted it to go away. Additionally, I also added a local.sh script, and this local.sh is basically just a non-Docker way to run things.
How are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Sorry, can't think of one. Thank you so much for the subscription, mate. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Holy crap. Welcome to the lab. You are officially an honorary lab assistant. Hi. How does the bot know in what channel you want the messages to be sent? Haha. So that is something that I do want to work on today, because at the moment it's hard-coded. But real quick, all this is doing, it's still using Docker Compose to bring up Redis and Vault, so that we still get the Redis ledger and Vault for the ledger for greeter and secrets management accordingly. And then it does all of its thing to grab the Vault token, grab the Twitch token, plop that into Vault, get the Redis host and port set up, and then we just do a go run main.go. It's a little bit faster than sitting there constantly waiting for the Docker build, and that's actually what's running down below. And I also have that running down below because I don't trust this thing. I don't trust this thing. Oh yeah, that was, sorry, I can think of one's 2-month anniversary. 2 months anniversary? I beg your pardon? We've been going for that long? Whoa. I didn't realize that. Hi. I didn't even realize we were at like the 2-month subsection. Holy crap. I need to commission sorcery for some badges. Artistic things is not something that is on my, yeah, it is not something that has been on my radar because I'm not an artistic person. Okay, let's go back. That caught me off guard. So what I would like to do today, I would like to do a little bit of cleanup and a little bit of ergonomic checking. So the thing that kind of catches me about this right now is that it's a little fumbly. It's a little fumbly to actually start this bot because of the at least specifically in dev mode, because of the existence of Redis and Vault. Now, Vault as the secret management store and Redis for the ledger kind of backend is absolutely what I'm intending to deploy. But for right now, I would kind of like something a little bit quicker. I would like an ability to basically say, hey bot, spin up in local mode. And in local mode, it just uses, say, a local file ledger to check whether or not it's greeted somebody. Maybe that makes sense to do. Maybe it doesn't. We'll find out. And then also an environment variable secret store, just as a quicker way, if you will, to grab those secrets. They're available on the environment anyway, so might as well make it easier, and just make it a more self-contained bot. It would be the intention. 2 months is misleading. It's actually subbed for 1 month and renewed for a second month. Ah, okay, gotcha. But still, I've been affiliate for a month. The fact that I'm affiliate is just blowing my mind. First of all, second of all, the fact that y'all have been subbed for a month, like some of y'all have been subbed for a month. Oh my god. So that is what I would like to do today, and I think based on the fact that the external config is now working, boop, we can call that task done. Hell yeah. I also felt an entire secret storage for what I assume is one token seems a bit over-engineered. It is. So in a deployed environment, there are more things that would be used by Vault. So things like the Redis instance, for example, would have authentication. And so there would be credentials that would be used on Redis, or that would be used for connecting to Redis. Those would also be in Vault. Other things that may come into the mix for, say, things like if I put this into a private network and then I needed a jump host to get into that bit, storing the SSH key that would allow me access into that box would also be in Vault. So yes, there's a lot of things that would go into Vault, and I would still deploy Vault as the kind of secrets manager in production. But for local, nah. It is absolutely over-engineering, technically speaking. That does not go without saying, though, that one of the reasons that I wanted to put it in... the reason that I wanted to put Vault in the local environment, at least in a Docker context, is that we can spin the app up, make sure that we have the integrations and the automations that we need for Vault scripts, and then we are basically relatively confident that when we put it into production, as long as there's not a massive networking screw up, because there's always a massive networking screw up. We always assume that, oh, we just take this and we put it over there and it's fine. No. Oh, hey, a security group has stopped you from accessing your vault. Yeah, that's not PTSD. I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, that was kind of the reason that I wanted to put it into Docker first, get that integration built, and then come back and basically do a simpler version as an alternative. So, I say for the sake of simplicity, we probably start with the environment variable secret store. Just because that seems like a pretty low hanging fruit. Secrets. We do have a static store. Oh, this is an in-memory secret store. Just glancing over Vault's main page makes me realize how little I know about networks and IT security. It's just not my field of expertise. It's a very complicated field of expertise, just saying. Like, oh my goodness. IT security, networking, etc. I mean, sorry, I can't think of one, can attest to the networking insanity. I believe you can also attest to some of the security bits, because you're now cloud inference security, right? Or cloud DevOps security? I can't remember. I can't remember the acronyms. But it's not a simple thing. It's one of my goals to find a way to make that process simple, but still kind of getting there. Okay, so something that we could do, we could just basically take over the static store, I think. So if we replace static store with EnvStore, call it something like that. So EnvStore is an in-memory secret store that grabs secrets from environment variables. Which in this case we have our Twitch token and I'm gonna be a little lazy. Just a little lazy for the time being. And get env retrieves value from value, returns the value, which will be empty if the variable is not present. So that's honestly kind of fine. Now, I'm not a fan of this, personally speaking. I'm not really much of a fan of environment variables being all over the code, especially not references to environment variables. In this case, the intention is to move those variables into a singular location. So I think it's okay, but I will want to reevaluate that whether or not this is getting a little too distributed. But then we can do like this, s.twitch token. Oh, right. So what we can do is if s.twitch token equals empty string, return empty string and fmt dot error f error Twitch token not in env. Otherwise, we return that. And that just gives us, it's technically not great. Well, no, because we do catch this. We do catch the error in main. So basically what I'm doing here is Twitch token when coming from os.getEnv could be empty. It could be an empty string if it's not found. But in the constructor, we're not throwing errors. We're just setting the state of EnvStore as is. And then when we call get Twitch token, we're then checking if it was empty, then that's an error state. We didn't find it, or it wasn't set properly, or whatever the case may be. But if it is present and it has a value, then we just return it. So that's not terrible, I don't think. We do need to, because of move, we need to move secret static store to secret EnvStore. Like that. And then I probably need to COC restart. There's also a thing students did a lot at the beginning. Instead of a method which returned values, they had a method that manipulated a static variable. Don't manipulate. Don't use and then manipulate global state. I genuinely hate global state. I don't care how convenient it is. I don't care how many things go around it. in an attempt to protect you or to add debugging capabilities. I don't like global state. I just don't like it. I've had too many issues in production that were inevitably found as being the result of global state being used and then it being manipulated in 500 parts of the code. I don't like it. This multi-return syntax seems pretty cool. This is the issue when you start to learn by writing everything in main. Yes, absolutely. And yes, the multi-return, like, I love the fact that multi-returns are a thing. I wish that multi-returns were more of a thing in other places. You can kind of sort of get multi-return in Scala, but that's really just syntactic sugar over a tuple class. But, oh man. Oof. Multi-return is dangerous, though. Like, I try to only use multi-return for the value or an error. I try to not go beyond two returns if I can help it. Because, ooh. Laboratory 424 went live. Yeah, BT dubs. Laboratory 424, I think it was. Nope. Nope, I didn't spell that right. Derp. Yeah. Laboratory. There we go. If you want to see a proper lab setup, go check out my dude over at Laboratory 424. It's amazing. And I think I heard him say he was an electrical engineer, so hey. Let's see here. All right. So the intent of this, again, is more or less just to give us a quicker, easier way to start the bot up in local mode. So instead of having Vault, again, I speak English natively. Can you tell? Instead of pulling from Vault, our store won't be a secrets.new Vault store. It'll be a new EnvStore. Just want to make sure that is indeed how it's spelled. Yes, perfect. Now, Shito, I have a question for you. Since you brought up the packaging format, would this be an example of the purposes of a command package, a CMD package? One main.go for, say, a local version, and then one main.go for the production version? And the only difference would be over here we use Vault Store, over there we use EnvStore? I shall give you time to type. Don't think so? Okay. I was trying to remember what the approach was that I saw before. Because it's effectively, I'm basically switching between implementations. But I wasn't keen on doing something like having a flag. Although I guess, well, a flag could actually be interesting. CMD package was more like for different behaviors of the app. Okay. Okay. I may have to go back and read over that a little bit more. So for the rest of chat, so the thought that I've been trying to formulate is that our current main.go is very much the intended, call it production main.go. It's grabbing config from a config file. It's connecting to Redis. It's connecting to Vault. Like, it's connecting to all of these production services, and then the app starts up that way. But one of the reasons that we created these interfaces, one for Ledger and then one for the secret store, is so that we could have different implementations and swap them out depending on what we were doing. So for a local environment, I would probably want an EnvStore and either an in-memory, an in-memory ledger or a local file ledger, depending. But I was not keen on the idea of that being a single main.go with a bunch of flags. I kind of wanted it to be completely separate code, but the more that I'm starting to think about that, the less that it's sitting well on my brain. My brain is starting to second guess what my brain is saying, and my brain is very confused. Yay, polymorphism. And I did want to mention that it is worth noting that we do have an in-memory ledger at the moment, which originally the intent of the in-memory ledger was for testing, which we are still very behind on tests. We really need to kind of catch up on some tests. And I started to. Like, here, we... Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, I wrote a test off stream. Shit. How is the in-memory ledger persisted? It's not. That's kind of the caveat of the in-memory ledger. As soon as the bot stops, the ledger state disappears. Very useful for testing. Not so useful for, well, if the bot doesn't crash, then it's technically okay. Real talk, I've actually sat in a meeting where nondescript feature that I'm not allowed to talk about was not a persisted feature. It had a data set that it relied on that was persisted in memory. It was basically, think of it like it was read and then it was persisted into static storage. But the read in part happened once manually. So, yeah. So the argument that was happening, and it was like a full-fledged argument, was why don't we persist that data? Like, put that data somewhere where it's persistent so that if the app crashes and then it comes back up again, we can just read that state, rehydrate, and we're good to go. And the counter argument was, or just make the app not crash. Huh? I'm so happy that the let it crash movement became a thing. Expect your apps to crash, because they will. For no reason whatsoever, your app will crash. And by the way, yes, we are greeting Barry. I'm not entirely sure who Barry is. Oh, I think I just got my Barry King leather tool, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it was Barry. So yes, we wrote a test. We wrote a test for the greeter. Apparently, it's not a complete test. Not if you use Erlang. How big was the in-memory data? Couple hundred megabytes, I think. Somewhere in the 40 to not 4. Wow. Somewhere in the 400 to 600 megabyte range, if I remember correctly. Now I know I wanted to ask you, Yoda or not? Now, are you saying Yoda as in the or are you saying Yoda as in an acronym for something? You only die always? Which, that's very dark, but at the same time, it is technically true for your applications. All things considered. What was I doing with this? I think I was literally just checking to make sure that it was greeting properly. Yeah. Apparently, I was just checking to make sure that the... Oh, right, because I was just checking to make sure that the greeter was indeed just returning a greeting. And I want to say there's no way for us to test not greeting somebody until we fix the other problem, but we'll get there. Var equals 42 and Yoda 42 equals var. Now I'm curious. Because of course, as soon as I Google Yoda, you know exactly what comes up in the chat. I am not. Oh. I think I see what you're talking about. Yeah. No Yoda for me. No Yoda for me. Sorry. my brain. Oh, I get it now. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, chat. That took me way longer than it should have. The answer is no. I do not prefer to Yoda my if statements. No. Every time that I see that in code, I immediately open a pull request to reverse it. Oh, I'm never gonna forget that ever. Hey, sorry I can't think of one. Are you still in the chat? Yoda conditions. I will never forget that now. Oh my goodness. I'm kind of pleased that it took me that long, though, all things considered. So yes, we have an in-memory ledger. Now, I will agree with that, Rockraid. I do attempt to basically build null pointers out of my application, in the sense that if there is any case that there would be a null, I try to make it not a null. But yes, I have seen the null safe string check, and I do kind of agree with it. If you know that nulls are a possibility and you haven't built your barriers around it, yeah, I do kind of agree with the Yoda string testing. Let's see here. So I do want to make a new ledger, and I want to make this file.go. And I should go ahead and reset COC. I think I read that so in case anybody's wondering, the language completion server that I have for Vim is COC, Commander of Completions or something like that. And yeah, for some reason, every time that that I add a new file, COC like loses its mind, so I have to restart COC in the background. So if you hear me say, "Oh, I need to reset COC," and then you see that, that's me restarting COC, which is keybound to space CR. If anybody was curious. COC Primogen creep. Yeah, damn right, 715. The Primogen is definitely the person that that has basically shaped my Vim foo. With that smooth jar of coconut oil. I'm fairly certain that nobody in chat that or anybody that's never seen the Primogen has probably just recoiled. Let's see here. So what do I want to do here? I feel like I kind of want this to be an IO reader, and then I can just use questions. PHP is getting a really cool feature. Then you can do. Oh, they're getting the what is it called? The maybe operator, I think is what it was called. I called it the save my ass operator because it always saved my ass. I really don't get the hype around using Vim. A full IDE just feels more feature complete. It's fair. I mean, I use Vim because I got really into the key bindings, and I really like the tooling. I like the minimalism, and at the same time, it also has kind of forced me to really build up a skill set and a repertoire of tools on the command line that basically I can use anywhere. To that point, though, I do not discredit anybody that uses a full IDE at all. I think the final straw for me was IntelliJ constantly re-indexing and being slow on a moderately sized Java project. And it was at that point that I was like, I'm done. I need something, and I gave them a try. I think there was Rock Raid. I want to say that was a proposal for, was it JDK 15? I want to say it was either 15 or 16. One of those JEPs was proposing a safe null pointer, and oof, it's so good. That KCA, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. And it's Jeff. My name is Jeff. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab, mate. As you can see, the bot auto greeter is up and running, and we have that running down at the bottom. It is very ugly down at the bottom, but that's half the fun. So what do I want to do here? Well, for one, I want to be lazy, and I want to copy that code out, and I want to come down here, I want to paste. And then for my ledger, I want my ledger to be an io.readWriter. I'm not sure if I want it to be a read-write closer just yet. Yeah, I don't think I want it to be a closer just yet. Let me change that from in-memory to file. There we go. And here, the ledger is an io.readWriter, which technically, if all of these things could be read writers, then I could just have a single IO ledger. Wouldn't it be nice? The original proposal was for JDK 7. Oh, wow. Huh. I did not know that it's been around that bloody long. That's kind of wild. Holy shit. That is actually wild. Huh. For regular full development, I prefer a complete IDE as long as it performs, but I use console, terminal a lot, and absolutely love them there. It's fair. It's same for me. The thing that I think keeps bringing me back to the CLIs is how automatable they are. I can automate my CLI tools. It's very difficult for me to automate It's very difficult for me to automate my GUI tools. Let's see here. So if we take an IO writer, we return our new file ledger. Now it becomes a question of how do we optimize? Because we could still take the in-memory map approach. We could effectively have a cache and then just have those values stored in the IO writer, and then whenever we add to the file, or whenever we add the key, we just add it to the ledger, we add it to the cache, and we add it to the file. I think I'm going to do that. So this is going to be a map of string integer, like we had before. The cache is going to be that. The ledger is going to be the IO reader. And actually, the cache is going to be up here. So cache is... And I should probably explain that a little bit. So the thought here that I'm kind of playing around with is that for the file ledger, the only thing that I really care about for the file ledger is that those values are persisted, and then if the application restarts, that those values are reread from that file. There is kind of a thing. There's kind of a thing here that I might have to consider. Because we don't get the expiring keys at that point. So something that we could consider. But anyway, so the what's kind of playing around in my brain is that it would be, I think, a lot more performant, which performance is kind of whatever at this point, but it would be a lot less file I/O if we take in the ledger as a constructor argument, and then the first thing that we do is we read from that ledger. We read from that I/O reader, and then we populate those values into the cache. We store them both, and then the thought here is that we would then turn around and append. Is it, oh man. I don't remember if there is an easy way to append to a file. I may have to think about that. Yeah, I may have to think about how to do that. But the thought there being that we read from that I/O reader initially and populate the cache. Whenever we're checking if a value is absent, instead of doing a bunch of file I/O, we can just check the cache. And then when we add a key to the ledger, we add it to the cache and we add it to the file. The problem, though, is that I don't know that there is an append operator on that. Something to think about. I just did some Googling, and apparently the optional class is supposed to be a stand-in for null safe operator, but it's such a Java-like substitute. It really is, Rockraid, which I've used optionals quite a bit. If I had to choose between null and optional, I prefer optional. It's a little more... It's not as kind, I suppose. But yeah, it's kind of one of those, like, optional is such a Java approach to the null pointer problem. And I like what they tried to do. I love that the optional can still throw a null pointer exception, which is hilarious to me. Like, you can still get the, you'll trade for the most, for the majority case, you'll trade a null pointer exception for an illegal access exception, or you'll get the null pointer exception back. It's like, it's so bloody weird. You need the os.o append flag if you want to append to a file. Okay. Rust uses options, and Scala has an option object as well. And I love Scala's option. Like, Scala's option is properly safe. I love it. Not to mention that it has a ton of built-in capability, and it's interoperable with the collections library. That's the thing that I think gets me the most about Java, is that I use optionals and then I use lambdas, thinking that I can, optionals and streams, thinking that I can interweave the two easily. Nah. It's simpler, but it's not as simple as Scala. And oh, how I miss it. Okay, so Golang, IO, read, writer, append. How does one append? Because I know that if you have the file directly, you can do this. So I guess if you do a write, can you do that with a write? Because io.readWriter, I think, only has... I need to validate this. Okay. So we do indeed have a write command. ioutil, let's see here. Let me see here. ioutil dot read all, and we will want to read all into, I think it's a reader into a byte and an error. So bytes error equals ioutil.readAll. If error does not equal to nil, this is where things get a little finicky. I'm not super keen on this, but error read ledger, and then I think I want to do that. Bytes error equals ioutil read all. If error does not equal to nil, then we have a problem. Technically. And technically, I guess we could just return an empty cache. I don't really like that. Yeah, I might come back to that. We may have to think about how to make that a little bit better, but for now it should be okay. Let's see here. Read, let's see here. Hydrate cache from reader. And this would be, this is kind of the downside, if you will. Technically, I'm saying new file ledger, but it's really just a reader ledger, if you will, or a read-write ledger. And I don't have all of the APIs that I have on os.file. There's a part of me that's almost tempted. But let's see how far we get with just IO reader and writer. So what do I want? What do I want? Which API do you want? I'm not sure, KCA. That's what's kind of bouncing around in my head is, do I want an ioutil, or do I want an IO read writer, which is really wide open, and I kind of like it. And that could actually replace both. That could basically condense file and in-memory into a single file. And then the IO read writer could just be, it could be a buffer for in-memory. It could be a file. It could be any of those things. The caveat is that I kind of struggle a little bit with this part. And we do have ioutil for read all and write file. But write file is not really what I want, technically speaking. I'm trying to think of what would make the most sense. I think this will be the test. So let me come down here. The test will be when we add a key. I think we would just do an l.ledger.write byte of key. If that works in an append format, then I think that'll give me what I want. Not entirely sure why that happened. That was weird. You might find a Firo useful to sit in between your ledger and the disk. How does the byte method know what encoding you want to use? System default. So it is a... the theory here is that the... Oh, actually, you know what? That is a fair point. Oh, and it's from our good friends at SPF 13, who we are using their Viper library at the moment. A file system abstraction for Go. Oh. Interesting. Interesting. I will have to give that I'll have to give that a look. I think we'll probably just, since this is technically for a local dev instance, we will probably just stick with os.file, but you have piqued my interest. Yeah. If the key only contains ASCII, you should be fine anyways. I don't know if Twitch enforces ASCII. I think Twitch enforces UTF, or the Twitch allows UTF-8. I think it might even require, or it might even allow UTF-16. I'm not sure. Ideally, everything would be ASCII, but but we all know that we can't rely on everything being ASCII. Unfortunately. So I'll have to see. To do, does this actually append? Question mark. And I think that will be deterministic on what kind of IO reader we throw into the mix. Or in this case, IO read writer we throw into the mix. Bytes is declared but not used. Yes, yes, yes. I wonder. Okay, so I need to do a test just to validate. Log.println. File looks like this. This is a very jank way of testing this, just saying. But what I am curious about is, so what I'm doing down here is I'm basically separating the keys with a new line, because you absolutely cannot have a new line in your username. So that seems like a fairly safe character to have in that capacity. So if we separate them by new line, and actually I should probably separator is a string, and then down here separator will be a new line, and then down here we'll just do L dot separator. There we go. Key is the username of a Twitch user? Correct. So for the ledger is for the greeter, and the greeter checks whether or not it's greeted somebody by whether or not their username is stored in the ledger. So what we're storing in this case is usernames. So technically we are beholden to whatever rules Twitch enforces for those usernames. So in theory, I think if we do string bytes, and then if we do yeah, just think of all the illegible name you came across among fellow Twitch watchers.
It's not false. It's not false, all things considered.
So it's underscore and user equals range of strings dot split on and of course I'm not setting that anyway. Separator equals new line. Change to boot. Separator. Gotta keep them separated. Let's get down here. We need this to be separator. I want that to be like that. And then I want to, what is it? Cache user equals 1. Web and keyboard. Boo. Thank you so much for stopping by, mate. Welcome back to the lab. Just think, ordered lexigraphically seems reasonable, doesn't it? String is declared but not used. Why? Wait. I didn't do. Oh my goodness, my brain. Okay, so let's get a quick catch up of what we've done. Ketchup, not to be confused with mustard. So what we're doing a lot in this constructor, all things considered. So we're creating a cache, which is basically going to front the file itself. And that's what we're actually going to use to check for values. So instead of reading the file over and over again, we're going to check an in-memory cache of that file. We are expecting the separator of that file to be a new line. So we're basically expecting username, new line, username, new line, username, new line, blah, blah, blah. So the intent here is that we attempt to read whatever this is. It could be anything, to be perfectly honest. It could be a buffer. It could be a file. It could be a network location. We're not entirely sure. If the error is not equal to nil, then we have a problem. We're just going to return a ledger that basically has nothing. Now, this is the part that I'm not keen on. This is the part that kind of makes me go, because I would prefer this actually have an error being returned. But I'm not entirely sure how I want to approach that. At least not yet. However, if we do read from the file, then we grab that string, we turn the bytes into a string. We range over the slice. So we basically slice that string by that separator. So we'll get username. And then for each of those usernames, we will then hydrate that cache with that user. And for the sake of the cache, we don't really care what is being stored. We just store a value of 1 just so that that key exists. And then down here, whenever we're doing our absentee checks, then we just check the cache. And then down here, this is the thing that we need to test. If we do a file and we add a key, we definitely want to add it to the cache. But then does writing that key plus separator, does that append it to the file? Or does it just blow up completely? So that's what we kind of need to test here. If the ledger cannot be read, it cannot be written to either. So at least that point, you would run into actual errors. In theory. My preference is to fail early. I would prefer that because I know that the error happened here, I don't really want the program to proceed. Let me see something. Let me see. Do I do this with Redis? I do. Okay. So I was kind of paused there because I didn't want to diverge on the constructor, but the Redis constructor has already diverged. So we can absolutely do this. This makes me feel a whole lot better. So now, if error does not equal to nil, then we want to do that. And then we want to return FileLedger because we do have to return the object, and error. Something like that. Now, I feel much better about this code because it is throwing the error where it happens, and when we use this this new FileLedger, we're gonna check for that error. And so if we find that error, then we can eject the code out immediately instead of it continuing, which is great. So now I need to actually check that this works. In my mind, it does what I want it to do, but in implementation, is it actually going to do what I want it to do? Okay. So I would like ledger, error, and I'm going to hard code this first. Ledger.newFileLedger. And the file is going to be os.openFile. It's going to be called ledger.txt because trollolol. And this is going to be opened with, I think the flag was like 0755, or it would be the Unix equivalent. Oh no, these are the flags. Yes. So this would be os dot read write or os dot append. Although os read write, os append feels unnecessary. 0644. Oh no, wait, this is a permission. Perm is a file mode. File mode. Oh, hang on. So we don't need... Hang on. I thought you want to change this ledger type. Wouldn't it be better to create a factory and using the adapter pattern to change the implementation? We're going to get there. At the moment, I'm mostly just checking to see if the file ledger itself works. But I'm not switching it permanently. But yes, the intention is to create something that swaps the implementation based on some type of input. Binary flags. I didn't see those in a while. Java use znums going into var for opening files. Binary flags are fantastic, and they're also fantastic for encoding data. Like if you've not used a flag for encoding things like, say, permissions, the code looks weird and people question Like every single time you do that, I get questions all the time like, why do you have a single @ symbol or ampersand? It's like, oh, right, because binary files are far more complicated. So you kind of play that like teetering balancing act of like, do I use the compact form of file permissions or do I just use an enum? And Java clearly picked the enum. So this is file error. Now this is interesting. Something that caught me. Open file is the generalized open call. Most users will use open or create instead. It opens the file with the specified flag. If the file does not exist, the create flag is passed. Is created with a mode perm. If successful, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Okay. See, I'm more used to seeing the open form. The open form is not this guy. Huh. Very interesting. I'm not used to seeing that. I'm not used to this file mode. Hang on. I mean, so I guess we just do that? I guess? Do you need the append flag if you only read the file? We also write to the file. So there is in the add part, so where we're adding keys to the ledger, we write it to the cache and then we write it to the ledger, which in this case is the file. Right. Can I become a chat mod by any chance? Appreciate it, Ripme93, but we actually don't really need a mod at the moment. But thank you very much for the offer. I appreciate it. And welcome to the lab. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to our attempt to build a Twitch bot and go. Yes, so we need to come back here. And I think this is still wrong because file is declared but not used. So then here we would pass file. I think because file is an implementer of IO read writer. So new file ledger should just take that as is. You think you don't need a mod? Just watch me. Where's Sorcery when I need her? She's probably fighting the alien at the moment, so we'll let her do her thing. Oh no! Now chat's rioting. Oh dear. Just as I say, I don't need one. Oh my goodness. She's really close, almost done. Looks like fantastic. Oh. I was so excited when she said that she was going to be playing Isolation, and I was super excited when she said she was going to do the heart rate monitor. Like that's what I love about Sorcery and why I keep recommending her content. She thinks about chat. She stops and she thinks about chat. Like she wants to do things for people, and it's so wholesome. Really, Frank, thank you so much for stopping by, mate. Welcome back to the lab. Good to see you. I think we're in a place to test. I think. You and Sorcerer have some history. We've been friends now for 3 years, I think. 3 years and some change now. Something of that nature. Lots of Monster Hunter ridiculousness. How she's put up with me that long? No idea. All right, so before we go to test this, I do need to take a quick about minute or two break. Need to go and get some more water, and I think I also need to boil some water for some more matcha. So Bear with me, chat. I will be right back. Thank you so much. We left the T unattended on the BRB screen. We did. I know it is a cardinal sin to leave T unattended, especially in this house, because I have a what is she now? 8-9 month old kitten. She gets into bloody everything, man. Oh my goodness. Late here already, going to finish watching Source on my phone as I head for bed. Again, very much appreciated, Sunmar. Thank you so much for being here. And if you need to take off, man. Get your get the rest that you need. I can report the sorcery just got done with the game. Ha! Praise be to sorcery. She did it. Oh, so happy for her. And in honor of chat, And in honor of this All Hallows Eve, I busted out the bourbon glass. This I don't know if you can tell, but it's a double wall. This is some of the prettiest glasses. Oh my goodness. Figured why don't we have a drink? So cheers to you, chat. Cheers to everybody that comes out to the lab and shows this ridiculous stream support and shows this ridiculous streamer support. Thank you so much. Cheers to you all. Now I really like a cold German beer. Let's see here. You should write ledger.add as a variadic function would allow you to do ledger.add Twitch TV stream lives 9 boxes. That's a really good idea, really, Frank. That is a very good idea. Much appreciated. I have one here. Yeah. I am invoking alcoholism in the chat. Oh man. All right. So here we go, chat. Now this is probably going to start spamming people. It is absolutely going to start spamming people. But what I'm going to do, so we've got the FileLedger to do make variadic. What are variadic functions? Is there a Java C equivalent? I believe Java has variadic, so it would be like what is it? Public static or public void read string values? I think it looks something like that, if I remember correctly. I don't use variadic functions in Java a lot. But I'm pretty sure that's the format. There's another streamer doing web development the whole time drinking whiskey and smoking weed. Oh my goodness. Yes, Varargs. This is so there was a thing on somewhere in Discord. I think it was like, "Hey Medj, drunk stream wins." Like that's not a very tall order. Like one of these gets me borderline. I am a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. Oh my goodness, I'm such a bloody lightweight. So if we change that, actually we'll just undo all of that. Store. Oh, web and keyboard. Thank you for the hydrate. So store error equals store, or is it a secret dot new EnvStore? That does not have an error on it. So we just do like that. I figured I was helping one cause or the other, and it was certainly one of them. I mean, if you would like to declare that hydrate was for the bourbon, then you are more than welcome to restate. Alrighty. So we're gonna close that down. We're gonna source our token. I don't remember if that's actually going to work or not. No. Because because of something completely different. That is nope. If error does not equal to nil, log dot invalid arguments. Okay. Yes, log dot fatal f fatal. Read FileLedger file, which for anybody that is unfamiliar with my my error handling or my error tactics, I prefer short, descriptive errors versus like long text items, and I prefer kind of the same format, so that it's easy to find in, say, like log aggregators. But it is limited, of course, since it has to go last. So when overloading methods, you may run into issues. Exactly. That I miss optional and default arguments for methods. Same. There are ways around it. There are ways around not having those things, but yeah. Isn't the fatal in the error string redundant since the error level is fatal? Technically, fatal F. All it does is it prints out the string directly to the console, and then it does an os.exit1. So it doesn't actually do like what SLF4J based APIs like logback, log4j, etc. It doesn't actually append that that level to the log. Yeah, we're kind of being very very bare bones minimalistic with libraries at the moment. LogRS is definitely something that that I am wanting to look at. But yeah, we're being very lazy when it comes to logging. And to be perfectly honest, it probably makes sense for us to like make our own logging abstraction, so that we can swap them out. But I just haven't gotten to that part in the code yet. I'm used to the pretty log messages of SLF4J. Same. And on top of that, anytime that I am tech lead over a project, which thankfully I'm not anymore, but I enforce the use of SLF4J. That way I can plug logback, or I can plug log4j, God forbid, or I can plug any other logging format in if I wanted to. Logback, though, is definitely my favorite. Configuration in XML, but logback is so good. Okay, so we have invalid arguments, which I'm going to assume is because of this. Let's see here. Mochikomi, log4j greater than 2 is actually really nice. So I have actually not used log4j2. I have seen it used, and I've seen the kind of transitive import from other libraries, but I personally have never used it. And also, Mochikomi, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab, where we are attempting to build a Twitch bot in Go. We have a company-wide POM, which comes with default logging framework predetermined.
Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
Mochikomi, thank you so much for the follow, mate. Welcome to the lab. Digital lab coats are available upon request. However, we cannot guarantee that those lab coats will actually fit because they are digital and the bits are a little finicky. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Welcome as our newest lab intern. So, we have a problem with this. What is the problem with this? Golang files. Yes. Yeah, so this is for read access. But there's a couple of ways to open the file. And that is what's messing with me. Oh, did I pass it completely? Hello? Open file. There's open. Opens the file name for reading. If successful, the method return is associated with the descriptor of read only. Right, so open is read only. Medj, I think my lab coat needs some ECC. Why? Do you have constant errors on your bits? Because unfortunately, the ECC that's embedded in these lab coats is a little it's kind of like ECC if ECC had Alzheimer's. So it's not technically error correcting, it's more like What? Sorry, I can't think of one. What did I do? The parity bit is definitely dodgy. I mean, I did say they were scuffed. Just saying, they are a little scuffed. Open file is the generalized call. Most users of open will use open or create instead. It opens the file with a specified flag. If the file does not exist and the oCreate flag is passed, it is created with the mode perm. Okay. Okay. The parity bit. I mean, you know. Okay, so I was indeed reading this wrong. So what I need is something that looks like this. Read, write, create, append. So read, write... os.ocreate and os.oappend. And then for this needs to be 0755. I guess technically we could actually do this as 0644 because really we only need, or we could actually do it as 0700 if we really wanted to be secure about the people that we've greeted. Although I don't think we need the execute bit. I think we just need that. I think we just need read write. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine, I think. Let's find out. Go run main.go. Do the thing. Hey. Hello. Okay. So now we got Medjbot. We got ledger.txt. Oh boy. I don't know that ledger.txt is technically working, but let's see. So we've never seen Rock Raid before, so we got the greet. Why do you have to specify the access mode in both the OS bit flags and the Unix-like permission flags? Is a very good question. I am not entirely sure. I think the permission, the last argument, I think that is only if the file has to be created. I think. Whereas the initial bit flags are for if you are accessing the file. So I guess technically it's so that you could specify one or the other. Rock Raid sent a message. Shito sent a message. We've seen Shito before. We say welcome to Shito. Shito, would you mind sending a message again? Hey! The one thing is permission, how you want to open. And then the second permission is how the file was created. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that we now have a file reader.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Hello, Sorcery, and hello, Raiders. How are you doing? So, I heard that you might have done it. Did you do it, Sorcerer? Did you do it? 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 Welcome, Raiders. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Or welcome to the lab, I should say. No, she died. Marvel. Marvel. Say it ain't so, Marvel. Oh, Pippa. That Froggo. I love it. I love that that is an official avatar. Oh my goodness. The bot really is getting some exercise right now. And if we pop into the ledger, we want to load the file. It does appear to be working. It's not quite showing the new line character, but I think that's fine. The question, though, is really going to be, okay, so we need to do this. We shut the bot down.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
First and foremost, Sorcery, thank you so much for the 2 months. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I'm going to cry. We did it. It's absolutely amazing. What a phenomenal game. I am so pleased that Alien lived up to expectation. I'm so pleased. And a round of applause for Sorcery for being able to get past that shit. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure that most of you know who Sorcery is, but just in case, give her a follow. She is the most wholesome streamer. She is my best friend. She is a fantastic person. Give her a look, give her a follow. It's fantastic. My heart rate spiked to 157. Holy shit. It was consistently above 100. Oh my god. That's so good. Sorcery? I'll check him out. Oh, that is so wholesome. All right. So, the question now is, did the bot... let me do this. Let me cancel that out. Let me go run main.go. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So that part isn't working. So for everybody that just joined, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. We are attempting to build a Twitch bot in Go. And actually now I'm curious, is that actually failing? Cause let's see. Hey Rockraid, would you mind posting another thing in chat real quick, just to be sure? Because that looked like the file greeter was not working. Yep. Okay, so it's not working. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Okay, so that part isn't working. So maybe the separator needs to be something like that. Maybe. Or maybe it greeted you twice? Okay. Interesting. Okay, so that part's not working. And also, where's my printout for the file? Oh, is that way at the oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, that part's not working. It's reading the file, but it's not parsing the file. So that seems to be a problem. Okay, so let's rmledger. Sorry, guys, but I'm really tired. Need some sleep. Thank you, as always. Oh, thank you, Pippa. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please get some sleep. Take care of yourself. And thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good one. Have some good sleep and a virtual hug to you. Okay, so thankfully that didn't work. Thankfully that did not work. For a second there, I thought I deleted the entirety of the Ledger folder, but thankfully that didn't happen. Oof. If I was wearing a heart rate monitor, you would have seen the heart rate go boom. Holy shit. Remember to commit often. Exactly, rock rate. That was terrible. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, let's try this again. Let's see where we're at. So the file is empty. Source control! Ah! And in fact, along that regard, we're going to grab the file. We're going to grab main.go, delete the status store. I don't think we want to do that either. I'm gonna shower and sleep. Absolutely zonk. Good night, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much, Sorcerer, for stopping by. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you sleep well, and congratulations on getting through Alien Isolation. That is fantastic. And in case anybody didn't know, Sorcery is currently she is currently attempting to build a PC to replace her aging laptop. And that PC is going to be used for streaming. It is. I am matching every donation that is made towards that cause. So if you feel so inclined to do so, there is no obligation to donate. But if you feel obligated to do so, donating to Sorcery and Sarcasm, I am matching euro for euro. Good night, Sorcery. Thank you so much. Sleep well. Alrighty. So, now that we've done that, now we're going to close it. We're going to reopen it. And we're going to see... Oh, interesting. Hang on a second. That is not appending. Okay, I think I see the problem. The file is not appending... It's not appending the separator. It's because... It's because we're not setting the separator, Chad.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Mako Plux, thank you so much for the subscription. Welcome to the lab where you get to see every single screw up. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the subscription. You are a honorary lab assistant. Welcome to the lab. Holy shit. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the new line separator. No screw up could be as big as JoJo's, am I right? You're not wrong. Okay, let's try this perhaps. Which, by the way, in case you are unawares, for any new folks in chat, we are attempting to build a Twitch bot in Go. And we're getting somewhere. Allegedly. Oh, I forgot to hold on, sorry. I forgot to rmledger.txt. And now let's go run main.go. Sorry, hold on, Feel. All right, now go, Feel. Oh. Let's see. Hello, world. Okay. Hello. There we go. Off to Off to my duty again. Thank you, Fiel. Oh. Rockraid, can I get one more message from you, if you would, please? Hey, it's because we weren't setting the separator. So, to kind of recap what just happened there. So the TLDR is that what we were attempting to do is using a file-based ledger, we were attempting to write usernames to that ledger. Oh, we want to load the file. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me come back over here. So, the intent of the ledger, as you can see that the bot is currently automatically greeting people as they enter the chat, and the way that the bot knows whether or not it has greeted somebody before is by the use of a ledger. So we currently have a couple of ledgers in play. We have a Redis ledger, which is kind of our production ledger. And then we have a file ledger and an in-memory ledger, which I think the in-memory ledger is now basically defunct because we have our file ledger as an IO read writer. So we'll look into that. Wait, there are duplicate entries? Oh, are there? I think that might be because I'm doing something. I'm doing that. Yeah, so there are duplicate entries because I'm doing this, which I'll talk about here in just a second. So, the file ledger was created in addition to the Redis ledger so that we could have something to use for the local environment, so that we didn't have to spin up Redis and we didn't have to spin up Vault and we didn't have to do any of that nonsense. The file ledger is just a local persisted file ledger. But there is one minor problem with this ledger, which is that the ledger currently doesn't have any concept of expiration. So, yeah. That is something that we do need to consider for this, because Redis has expirations on the keys, but the file does not. Let's see here. In case someone actually change, is there a way to see name changes in case somebody actually changes their name? I don't think so, Officer Wolf. Unless there's an API to do so, which I personally am not familiar with, but maybe. So when a new person joins, the file ledger searches the file every time. It does not, Rockraid. So that is why we have the IO read writer as well as the cache. So the cache sits in front of that file, and so every time that we load that file, we actually populate that cache. And so when we do checks and so forth, we check the cache. We don't check the ledger. Having done my duty, I'm gonna head out and have a successful rest of the stream and a nice day. Thank you so much, Fiel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you sleep well and have a good one, mate. So a write is also performed on the cache and to the file. It is. So down here we have our two functions that are enforced for the interface. So we have the absent function, which basically checks as to whether or not the key is absent in the cache. And then we have our add function, which the add adds that username to the cache as well as appends it to the file. It's like an fsync in Unix, exactly. All right. Chat. We did it. We have a file ledger. Mind you, there is something to do here. To do expiration considerations, because one of the reasons that I chose Redis initially for the cache of this ledger is because of the expiring keys. So after, I think I have it set to 12 hours. Let's double check. Yes. So after 12 hours, those keys will expire. Those usernames effectively will expire. And so because of that expiration, whenever we start stream up again, then that will automatically remove those keys, and then we can re-greet somebody for the next stream. Whereas with the file ledger, though, we don't have that same functionality because we just write it to a file. So the only way to really enforce that expiration aspect is if at the end of stream, I automatically delete that file. So it's something to consider, something that we could potentially build in code. Maybe something we could do as kind of like if there's a shutdown hook of some kind, we could potentially look into that. Be like, hey, Go, is there a shutdown hook? If there is, delete this file. Maybe that's an option. Is this cache a Go functionality? Access times? Correct. So Shito is correct. It's a map. It is an in-memory data structure. Excuse me. And all I'm really doing is, this is actually a very common technique for fronting file I/O. If you don't have something like Redis, and you don't really need something like Redis, just a simple in-memory hash map is a pretty solid way of fronting a file, so that you don't have to constantly sit there and do file I/O all the time until that file blows up to like a 1 gig file or something of that nature, and then you really start to question whether or not you should have put that in memory. And I apologize, I feel my voice starting to go a little bit. So let's come back over here to our trusty Trello board. As far as I'm concerned, we have absolutely created an environment variable secret store, and we have absolutely just done the local file ledger. Now, something that we should absolutely do here, though, is we should add an additional task, add expirations, there we go. Expiring keys, sure, for the file ledger. That is probably something that we would want to do relatively quickly, maybe probably after the auto thanks for followers, subscribers, and maybe even the usage counts, because that is something that I am definitely interested in doing. But it's something that we can automate. It's something that's working, but we have to manually clear them in order for the functionality to work. Another thing we could use is PostgreSQL. Do you already have an idea how to implement an expiration? Sorry. So we could absolutely use PostgreSQL. I'm actually kind of curious if Postgres, if there's a way to work Postgres into the mix. So full disclosure, the reason that I'm using Redis and the way that I'm using Redis is that I have the Redis Docker image, and I also have the AOF, the append-only file, and the RDB file. Both of those things are effectively persistence files for the Redis instance, and I have those being persisted as volumes. So what that effectively means is that whether locally or even in a deployed context, Redis actually does have persistence behind it. It's not just an in-memory cache. It is actually persisting the commands and the values that it's storing inside of its cache. So in a very interesting way, Redis is almost kind of acting like our database. Which, fun fact, it's very surprising how many use cases you can actually get by with just Redis. Redis is almost I would almost argue that it's pretty much there in terms of persistence capabilities of a database. The difference is that as long as you have something that is strong and secure around like the persistence of that data, especially if you have like if you have backup mechanisms, if that append only file and that RDB file, if those are safely backed up and available, like for example, if you have a Kubernetes cluster, you have a persistent volume store, and that RDB persistent volume store is maybe backed behind something super durable and super highly available, Redis is a fantastic database replacement, and it's effectively in-memory caching for free.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
NJO, thank you so much for the subscription, mate. Welcome to the lab. You are now officially an honorary lab assistant. Thank you so much. Welcome to an attempt to build a Twitch bot in Go, and in general, just me kind of showing, hopefully, what real-world development looks like. All of its flaws. And Redis is super fast. Redis has absolutely jumped up on like my top 5 favorite technologies of all time. It's so far up there. Like, there are times when it doesn't really make sense to use Redis. They are few and far between. But when there's an opportunity to do so, like, I genuinely try really hard to bring Redis into the mix if at all possible, because it's such a versatile tool. And I can say that I have actually seen Redis being used as a replacement for something like even Kafka. If your use case does not justify the expanse that is Kafka, Redis Streams is fantastic. So if we have Redis as a Docker container, why we want to use the FileLedger locally? So good question, Shito. What I did off stream, which is currently not showing up apparently. There it is. I don't know what happened there. There we go. So what I did was I created this local.sh script, which is kind of an attempt to create a version of the bot that could be spun up really quickly without having to worry about, did I spin up Redis? Did I spin up Vault? Did I do all this other stuff? And then quickly be able to just run main.go with changes and see what happens. While the Docker build for the bot itself is relatively fast, I kind of wanted something a little more usable. Like, I was almost kind of missing, I was to that point where I was missing the ability to say just source the token and then go run main.go is effectively where that came from. So instead of having to wait for this to build and then waiting for the Redis instance to start up and all this other stuff, which admittedly is like a teeny tiny bit, I basically wanted to optimize to be able to just do go run main.go. So the FileLedger, the EnvStore, all of those things are effectively just quicker means of development for the bot. Is it necessary? No, probably not. Oh my goodness, I feel my voice slowly just like breaking on me. Please excuse. I can actually feel my voice like slowly failing me, and it's hilarious. Do you already have an idea for how to implement expiration? One possible option is to throw in an expiration at the top of the file. So what we could do What we could do is we could add some logic here. We could either add some logic here, or we could change the data format itself. Also, we could change the file format to JSON. Exactly, Shito. We could add some kind of structure to the file itself. And what we could effectively do there is we could say, like Shito's recommendation, we could change it to JSON. And then that JSON file would have something like one key would be creation time. And then the second key would be greeted. And then greeted would just be a slice of users or an array of users. And from there, the expiration would effectively just be file-wide, which kind of sort of makes sense from the perspective of stream, because we're not really looking at expirations of like of short timings. We're looking at expirations of 12 hours, or basically time in between streams. So we could just add a timestamp as a key into that file. And then whenever we're reading the file here in this constructor, we could just say, okay, as we're hydrating, read that timestamp, compare that timestamp to now, and if that timestamp is greater than 12 hours or whatever the case may be, then we can just say, okay, well, these keys are invalid, so we can clear the cache. We can probably clear the file in some capacity, and we can effectively overwrite and redo that process. In this case, a shutdown hook to delete the file when the bot shuts down seems easier for the use case. Kind of. Gotta find food stuff. Have a good night. Oh, thank you so much, Web and Keyboard. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good one, mate. Rock Raid, the original thought was around a shutdown hook, but the problem with a shutdown hook is that what happens if the bot shuts down prematurely? Or in the case of what we're doing right now, what if we come down here and we shut the bot down because we want to make code changes, we do some things, and then we bring it back up again? A shutdown hook would technically delete that file in between, and so that would technically clear out that that cache unintentionally, I suppose. But yeah, that was kind of my original thought around the around that shutdown hook. But I don't think it actually makes sense for here, at least. I would store each line in the file as expiry, username, easy to store, easy to parse, then run a go routine to expire each cache entry. That is another option. The only reason that I didn't go for a kind of a per key expiration is because technically the greeting is expiring by stream. So for all intents and purposes, after a 12-hour period, all of those keys expire. So at least the thought there was that there's really no I can't think of a scenario where, say, half of the keys would be expiring but the other half of the keys would be blown out, unless for some reason we streamed twice in one day and that time in between streams was more than 12 hours. Highly unlikely, I think. Also looking at the file system timestamp could be a way. Okay. Interesting idea, Shito. Something that we could potentially do. Let's come back up here. Let's add a note here. Do we use FS timestamp per Shito? Or do we need structured files like JSON with a timestamp? something to consider possibly for the next stream, because I feel like that's probably something that that would take some thought, and I don't think I have the mental capacity for it, nor the voice. It sounds like I genuinely feel my voice slowly just collapsing on me. Unless you stream through midnight, you insomniac. How'd you know, Rock Raid? But yeah, I think we're gonna leave it there. That was a very productive stream, you guys. I am very pleased with where we managed to get with this stream. So here we're gonna say FileLedger, EnV secret store, and testing. Oop. Hit the wrong keys there. Okay. Do a git push. Probably makes sense at this point to vim our git ignore and add ledger.txt, because we definitely don't want to be checking that into version control. Git ignore, git commit -m, add ledger file to ignore. And we'll do a git push. Again, this code is available on GitHub. So I'm currently storing the code. Whoops. Click the wrong button there. Let me bring this over here. MedLab StreamBot. Here we go. So on github.com, MedLabs StreamBot, that is where I'm storing the code. This is a publicly available repository for anybody to look at, to pull down, to make pull requests, to make suggestions. Feel free. This is available for everyone. This is effectively an open source bot. So fun times ahead. But I do think that we are going to call it there.